Hey guys, it's Andy, and today we have our Pan That Palette for 2023 words. Um, Before we get into it, if you like today's makeup, everything I'm wearing will be listed down below, as well as my socials where you can find where I do my makeup. And if you like unboxings, a little bit of makeup and horror content here on the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell. I would love to have you here as part of the little fam. So if you want to know what palette I am panning here for 2023, let's go ahead and get on into it. All right, so for the 2023 Pan That Palette, let me get my notes here. So the theme, this is from the Pantastic Ladies, and I will have their Facebook group linked down below. But the creator of this is Jessica Lee and Dana Flesher, I believe is how you would pronounce her last name. But it's kicking it old school. So with that, you were supposed to pick either the oldest palette in your collection or an old school type of palette, whatever worked for, your collection. And for me, it would have been between two palettes, but I actually had to declutter one of them. One of my oldest palettes was my Profusion Sienna's palette. Well, that would have been my oldest palette. That was my very first palette I ever had. But the formula on that had finally just gone off. Like, I couldn't get hardly any pigment. I had a lot of shades that had hard pan. I did have pans already in that palette because it was my first palette, so I used it pretty much extensively for quite a while. So I'm kind of sad that, I finally had to declutter it, but I got a lot of use out of it. So my oldest palette after that would be this one. And this is the Huda Beauty New Nudes palette. And I should have wrote it down when this came out again. I believe it was 2019. Because I looked it up to make sure, because I bought this a month after it came out in Sephora. So I believe it was 2019. It's the only palette I've ever kept the little insert for because I think that the insert was just beautiful. If you don't know, of course, you get the full-length mirror. It's the only Huda palette I own. And this is the color story. So again, I've had this palette since it came out. So it is quite a few years old. But as you can see, we've got some good dips on a few of these shades. I'm not excited to use this concealer, and I thought about taking that out, but I'm going to see if I can use it. That's going to be my only caveat to this palette, because I love pressed glitters, so I don't mind having to use those. I love the shimmers in here, so I don't mind having to use the pressed glitters. My only caveat to this palette is going to be, since this is such an old concealer and it was a cream, if this concealer has gone off, I will remove this from the palette. So I think I'm going to use this tomorrow in a look that I'm going to do. So I will try that, and if that's gone off, I will remove that. But otherwise, everything else in this palette is going to be fair game. And yeah, looking at the palette, I will take progress photos, but I have some pretty good dips in a lot of my favorite shades in here. So I think the real challenge for me is going to be the shimmers, because I have some good dips in the pressed glitters too, because normally when I would use this palette, I would use the pressed glitters because I enjoyed them. I think the shade I have the least amount of use on is this shimmer here, Kinky, because it's just so deep that I'm not a huge fan of deep, dark shimmers. That's not my thing. So I think that's going to be the shade that takes me the longest, and then the shade that I have the least amount of use on that's a matte would be Teddy right here. So, but I'm excited. This is my first full year of a Pan That palette. I loosely did a Pan That palette for 2022, if you saw that. I didn't hit any pans, but I didn't start it until literally in June, July. So I only had half the year. I wasn't expecting a whole lot. And I was doing other projects as well. I am doing other projects this year, but none of them are going to be eyeshadow based. This is going to be my only focus eyeshadow palette. Not to say that I'm not going to wear other eyeshadow looks, because that's not true, but this is going to be my only focus palette for this year, as of right now. So, yeah, like I said, we have no pans currently. I am going to be updating this around the 1st of every month, because I'm going to stop uploading on the weekends. Well, because Sunday is going to be my palette review day, because that's just the day that falls on. But so it just depends on what day of the week the 1st is on. If it's on a weekend, it'll be the first Monday, like. But right around the 1st of every month, I will give you guys an update on this, and I am super excited. Let me know in the comments what would be more beneficial. Like, obviously, I'm going to take a photo. I'm going to try to take some nice photos of, like, with different angles to show you how the pans look like right now. And I wanted to use this today, but I didn't, it's been a minute since I've used this palette, so I just wanted to wait until we've officially started the project. But would you also like me to, because I could absolutely use a piece of paper to track, like, every time I use a shade, like a tally mark system, to see how many times it takes me to hit pan as well. I was thinking about doing that, so I think I might do that as well, because a weight's not really going to help with this, I don't think. And I don't really want to take any pans out. Like I said, the only one I would consider would be the concealer. And even then, I probably won't take the pan out. I'll just probably scoop the concealer product out of it, because I don't know how easy it'll be to take the pans out of this. But yeah, that is going to be my introduction to our 2023 Pan That Palette, and I look forward to our progress. Let me know in the comments down below, are you panning any palettes this year? If so, let me know what palette you're panning, and where I can find you, because I would love to support you in your journey as well. And I will see you guys in the next one.